Hi, this is Dan Heisman, Philly tutor for Chess FM. This is the Improve Your Chess video series for ICC members. In today's video, we're going to see a over-the-board game, so the time stamping won't mean anything, and it's a fairly complex game, so let's get right to it. White played c4, English, but can transpose into other openings. Black plays the flexible knight f6, many ways to play against the English, that's one of them. G3, the other big move, of course, is to play knight c3, or you could transpose into a queen-pawn game with d4. Black plays e6, a very solid line. The whole idea of this line usually is to play early d5. Not necessarily, but usually. White plays knight f3 first. That can be helpful in some lines where you want to guard the b-pawn with d3, and you're not worried about pawn takes, queen d4 hitting the c-pawn and the rook. I once fell for that trap. b6, a reasonable way, setting up kind of a Queen's Indian setup, and this would transpose into a Queen's Indian now if white plays d4. Bishop g2, staying in English for now. Castle. And now black has a variety of moves. He can play d5, he can play c5, he can play bishop e7 and castle. He chooses to play bishop e7. And again, if white wants to, he could go into a queen-pawn game with d4. Plays d3. That's a little bit passive. If you want to stay in an English and you don't want to play d4, it probably makes more sense here to play b3 and bishop b2. It's not that it's really better than d3. It's a little more interesting and more flexible. You know, if you're going to move the d-pawn, probably theoretically moving it to d4 is a little bit better than going to d3. All right, so d3, white's setup looks a little bit passive here. Black castles. White now plays b3, which all the more reason why do we have a pawn on d3 in this position. Black plays c5 first. It could play d5, of course. Bishop to b2. d6, setting up a flexible position, but black could go for the gusto and play d5, and now that white's fianchettoed, d4 would be a minor positional threat to blocking the bishop. Alright, so here white plays knight c3, and black has a choice of where he wants to put the knight. I think the computer even almost likes d5 here to show you how passive d6 was, because black's got, you know, since white played d3, black playing d5 gives black the chance to really get some space advantage. So black plays knight to c6, and white decides to play a3. There is a break here on b4 later, but you know, he can't play rook b1 because the bishop's in the way, so really doesn't do all that much. He could also be just guarding the b4 square so he can put the queen on c2. And now, again, the computer wants to play d5, and black plays a6. Again, I guess the idea is he wants to put the queen on c7 and doesn't want the knight coming up. That's my best guess on why he might have done that. All right, these are two players that are rated between 1,500 and 2,000, but if I remember right, player playing black is much the lower rated player. Okay, so white plays rook e1, a little bit mysterious, but not terrible. And finally, black says, all right, d5. Notice black needs to develop his queen and his rooks, but we have a completely closed position. It's not a locked position. There's a lot of flexibility with the pawn structure. Closed means there's no open or semi-open files. Some people use closed to mean fixed or locked. Usually fixed or locked means you've got two or more sets of pawns locked together, and plus there are no open or semi-open files for completely locked position. So white plays e3.